Hello. You're sitting at the couples table. My name is Tom.
I'm Heather. And join us as we talk sickness and health,
richness and poorness, better and worse, as long as we both shall live.
Yes.
I like that the intro is clunky. It makes me happy. So today, if you look at the title of this episode, we're talking about life lessons.
Yes. First, we should address the fact that we are doing this 2 hours earlier.
Oh, yeah, we're trying to do it a little early to see if that works better for some people who like to watch live. Of course, if you're listening to this later on the audio version, it doesn't make a difference. But yeah, we're doing this a little bit earlier just because a lot of people who tune in live tend to be in different time zones than us. And for a lot of them, it was really late at night. So a couple hours might not make a big difference, but maybe it helps a little bit. Or maybe it screwed everything up. Nope. We already got a couple people here. We've got Jared from the Hive podcast saying, yay, live stream Thursdays. That's right. Thanks, Jared. And
which button is it? You gotta
sorry. Heather's asking for the
let's like establish
sound effect button. It is this one is the air horn.
Okay, ready?
Yes. There you go, Jared. And Jared says earlier is great, so good. I don't know. We'll see. School starts in a couple weeks, so we're trying to figure this out. Aaron is here. It's like it's the crew. It's the crew. Couples table crew. Additional seating. That's
And Aubrey is here too.
And Aaron says appreciate it. Yes. And Aubrey is here. So
it's really cool that a lot of our viewers are not in the same time zone. It's like a trippy thing.
It emphasizes just the reach you can have with digital stuff. And it goes to show you what I have learned through a lot of my live streams and just messages I've gotten from people is I have a lot of people. I think India is like the third most popular country in terms of viewership for my YouTube channel. And that's super interesting because it's like, I just do the stuff that I know you don't really think of it connecting with a totally different culture and people from totally different places. I did have somebody though, the other day who sent me a message and said, and they were from India and they were just saying, I don't know what the message was, something nice probably. They were asking for questions about lenses or something. And for whatever reason, something they said stuck out to me and I wrote back, oh, holy cow, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, wait, was it okay for me to say holy cow? Because like, aren't cows sacred? It had a whole thing of like, can I unsend this message? But I couldn't. But that was a little fun story. And speaking of stories, that is how you do a transition. Today, we wanted to share a couple stories with everybody. And we don't know for sure that we've actually heard each other's stories, which is sort of the kicker. That's the hook, as they call it.
We just said like, okay, for one of these episodes, we wanted to tell something about ourselves that we haven't talked about on YouTube before. And I think something that's really interesting is diving into our past because that, those are experiences helped us become who we are. And so we were just like, okay, what are some stories that we can tell where we're not calling anyone out? So that's important, but affected us in some kind of, way where it helped us learn something about ourselves or the world. And so I think we have a couple stories that we're going to share.
Yeah. I just love telling stories. I do this like in my classroom sometimes because there's a thing, especially when I used to teach English, where it can be dry sometimes. There's a thing that like research shows, or especially, younger students like ninth graders and stuff, they can really only focus for up to about 11 minutes at a time on a subject. And then you need to break it and do something more interesting. And what I learned was after, every 10 minutes or so, I'd look at the clock and sometimes I would try to weave it in like, oh, the reading here reminds me of a time when, but other times I'd be like, did I ever tell you about the time I touched a piece of the Titanic? And they'd be like, what? And then I'd jump into a story. And it just became it was a really fun way to connect. And it just became a thing where like literally then kids would be like, can you just tell us a story? Can you tell like a Buck story? It's like, sure. So I just love hearing stories from different people and their perspective. It doesn't need to be your whole life story. It can just be a little vignette of something.
Can I just do a really quick reminder?
Sure.
I know you set up that really cool transition, but while you guys are here to begin with, because everyone who's in the comments right now, I want to invite you guys to join us next Thursday, because next Thursday is going to be our first call-in show. So Tusif is here also. Rock entry, Ozzy, I need to talk to you.
That sounds like you're in trouble.
I know, but I have an idea.
You're not in trouble.
Yeah, you're not in trouble. But anyway, so next week we're doing a call-in show. We don't really know like what it is beyond that, but we want to invite you guys to join us on the stream. And basically what it would look like is, I'm actually going to show you. We would send you a link and you would pop up on our screen and it would look like this.
There's webcam.
Oh,
there's a huge
some weird feedback there.
Huge difference in quality.
But that's okay. But the point is, though, it's real time, so you can kind of join us almost like a Zoom call in a way. Follow, the links are in the description to this. You can follow either or both of us on social media if you're not already. And throughout the week, we'll be posting kind of updates, topics you might want to include, or things you want to think about. And we can get you all set up to be a part of the show.
Yeah, we want you guys to join us. So stay tuned or leave us a comment. Reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and we'll connect with you guys in advance.
Yeah, we'd love to have a few new faces, additional seating. I like that. We need additional seating at the couples table.
All right, Tom. Sorry for
No, that's totally fine.
I had to do that.
That's quick. A really important one. I'm glad you did it early because I know some people might have to,
bounce.
Head out early. So we'll jump in here. So we got rock entry. We talked about. I did want to just point out real quick that Tusif said, "Holy cow, tricky there." And also, students are happy with stories during the lecture because that's like we had a substitute at my high school who was at the time he was a World War II vet, and everyone just knew, like, literally you could go like, I forget what his name was, but you could say, Mr. So-and-so, remember the war? And then the whole class period was over because he would just tell you stories. So this is cool. Oh, look at that. Faith T says, hello, I'm new here. Your username is very familiar. I feel like I've seen you in the comments section.
Hi, Faith T.
Around, but welcome.
I love your profile pic. It's cute.
And Aubrey's on board for phone. Jared's on board for phone.
Yay. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I hope you guys
hope your internet cooperates. Follow us on social media because I was thinking we can at least maybe could leave a voice message if you can't be here and we can still like bring you in that way. So follow us on social media. We'll do the updates. Earlier times are good. Tusif says, and Aubrey says additional seating. Nice. See, coming up with all the good ideas. Okay. Oh. Wait, sorry. I'm seeing two things. So Aaron is here. He says he's going to be his best to be here next week, but chatting might be tricky since my camera setup is next to my bedroom. I'd have to be trying to sleep. Again, maybe it could be do a voice
call us
thing.
in. Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
And before Jamina first started, I just want about Faith T. Yeah, Jessica, former student, but like for my first year teaching digital media.
Oh, wow.
So graduated like 7 or 8 years ago.
How cool.
Super cool. One of my like kindest students of my first year, which was a little rough. Speaking of things that were rough in earlier years, you're staring at the screen.
Well, because Kimberly's here too.
Oh, okay.
I think we should totally do a shout out.
Derek Snyder, hello. Long time. You're always here, and we always appreciate it, Derek. And then Kimberly, Connection Certification.
Kimberly's here. What's up? So Kimberly is a great friend of ours here where we live, and then also she's a member of our YouTube mastermind group. So go check out her channel. Her channel is called Connection Certification, and she's going to be making content specifically for young adults and teaching them how to network successfully so that they can advance in their career, build connections, and a lot of opportunities come based on who you know. And so I think times are tough right now because there's no networking events, but she's still making do. And
just soft skills. Skills, as they call them, are very important to learn.
So definitely check out her channel. Woohoo.
For sure. And then Rock Entry says, I'm just proud. Tom, I purchased my first camera. His channel is at like 70 or 80,000 subscribers at this point.
He's not using his phone,
He says, time to retire the iPhone finally. Well, clearly the iPhone works because...
Wow.
Yeah. And, phones are great, but real cameras are real fun. So...
All right, there we go.
One of the things that we were talking about, we didn't have specific themes because part of the fun is to sort of hear stories that maybe we haven't heard from each other before, which is kind of hard because we've heard a lot of stories. one thing that popped up was instances of like learning to go against the grain a little bit for your own needs. And I had a story early on that I thought was really important in learning to do that, which is a really tough thing to do, especially when you're younger and peer pressure is a thing. When you're in your 30s, and I'm guessing beyond, it becomes a lot easier to just be like, I'll do my own thing, like whatever. But when you're a kid, it's really, really tough. And even into your teens and 20s, especially, it becomes really, really tough. So it's summertime, and summer's almost over right now. There was one summer, it was the summer before my 6th grade school year. So this would have been 1997, the summer of 97. I went to the Boys and Girls Club. It was the only time I'd ever done that, because it was in that weird transition thing. I was like 11 years old, and it was like, are you old enough to stay home alone every day, but you should also be getting social interaction? But like, I was in that weird transition phase. So it was the one summer that like my mom signed me up to go to the Boys and Girls Club in our town. And I had never gone to anything like that. I didn't do like sports or anything as a kid. So like the whole culture of it was sort of strange. And a lot of people who were there, people that had been there for years and years and years. And of course, people from my school. And I went, and there was one of my friends who was there. And I say this kindly because the story will be kind, but he was kind of a dork, as was I. And then what I didn't know was also the cool kids went to the Boys and Girls Club. And when I say cool kids, I mean, it was a group of kids from my elementary school that were just like, I guess you could call them like bullies. It was just they're
just too cool for school.
Literally, because a lot of them didn't go to school some of the time because that's the life they chose. But for some reason, they were at the Boys and Girls Club. But they were the ones, I had known them for years. And for some reason, like I had fallen into this quote unquote friend group very early on. And it was just a thing where like, I often wonder how I would have grown up having not met them in like kindergarten and 1st grade, because I feel like it gave me such a negative, that relationship gave me such a negative perception of myself for so long. And that anything I had where it's like, you have to really earn somebody's, likingness of you, or you have to really like earn a friendship. Everything is conditional. You are the butt of the joke all the time. Just like make you feel bad about yourself, but for some reason, I guess because I was 9, 10, 11 years old at the time, you're just kind of like, but I want them to like me, like, oh no. And it's a small town, there's not a lot of people there. So we show up, my one friend who's like kind of a dork, he went to a different school, he's there, we're having a ton of fun, as two dorks do when they hang out together. And then literally like something out of, I don't know, like a movie like The Sandlot, the cool kids walk in the door. And I remember like hearing the door like opening, and then I looked over, and because it was so bright, it was almost like silhouette, like bright light. Yeah, and they're coming in just like shadow figures. And it's like they're like spread out, I don't know, 4 kids or whatever. And they come in, and I was just like, I just remember like feeling scared and feeling like, oh no, they caught me like being a dork. Now they're gonna, I don't know, make my life terrible or something. And I was so sad that they were there, because it just like, I was enjoying myself, and now it was kind of ruined because these people were there. And then of course, literally just like out of a cheesy kids movie, the first thing they do is like walk straight over to me and be like, "What, you hanging out over here?" And this is the part that sucks, is I would have loved to have said like, because he's my friend, so like, step off, dude. But I didn't. I was
so
like,
you were hanging out with the other dork at the Boys and Girls
yeah,
Club.
we were like playing basketball or something. And then these kids came in, and then it was, okay, well, like, I don't know what I said, but I was like, oh, I'll go hang out with them. And I left my friend and went and hung out with them, where literally the whole day, all they would do is just sort of sit there and just be like, this sucks. They just complain about it. And then they would watch like all the activities that were happening. So like, the Boys and Girls Club, they'd organize, here, we're going to do dodgeball. We're going to do this thing, that thing, whatever. And it'd just be sitting on the sidelines, like, look at these dorks. Everybody's a dork. Like, look at them. Like, he's falling down. What an idiot. Like, whatever, just making fun of people. But it was so negative and so terrible. And it was just gross. And I felt bad. And I was just kind of like sitting there, like, I just wanted to be hanging out with like the people they were making fun of so badly. And this happened, I don't know how many times I actually lost track of those dates, but this happened, for a week or two. This kind of went on. where I would get there early in the morning. My one friend would be there. We'd kind of goof around for like an hour, and then these guys would show up. And literally, I remember one day we were playing like horse or something on the basketball courts, and the other kids walked in, and I remember my friend like looked at me, like he got the ball, he caught it, he held it, and he just got a sad look, and he just went like, bye. And like, he just kind of like went and like, he knew like, you go hang out with them, and then we don't hang out for the rest of the day. And that made me feel really bad, as it should have. And the next day, this is the whole point of the story, because the next day I was having so much fun playing with my friend in the morning again, doing whatever we were doing. And then the cool kids came in, and I remember like literally they walked in and kind of did the like neck up thing, like, come on, like, go over here. And I remember like I was like, I don't want to. I was starting to dread, like I didn't, I'd wake up in the mornings and I wouldn't want to go because it was miserable and stuff. And I remember I was like, I really don't want to. I don't have fun. Like, I don't feel good about myself. I'm having more fun here. I feel bad like treating this like nice person poorly. And I remember like my friend was like, well, okay, you can go. And I was like, I'm just gonna stay here. And he was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I remember they were like, come on over here. And I was just kind of like, I was very like not confident about it, but I was like, oh, we're just gonna play here. I even like kind of just tried to like pretend I didn't see him. And I remember then they sat on the sidelines and just made fun of us all day long. And I knew the things they were saying and how mean and cruel they were, and it hurt. But then at the same time, I was like, this feels so good that like these people that like had some kind of power over me, literally all I had to do was say
No.
And it didn't matter. And they were sitting there and they were making fun of me, but like, so like, it really didn't matter. And the feeling, I remember like, I cannot describe, it was like the feeling of weight being lifted, of just like, I can make my own decisions. And sometimes people aren't going to like it, and that's totally okay. And I definitely don't have to like lower myself to like please people who are super negative and terrible. And I mean, you're like 11. I've never like felt those kinds of things before.
Right.
And it was just that moment, like that moment of knowing that, it's not a thing where like then school's gonna start and they're gonna be like, that was it. Like we're not quote unquote friends. I actually ended up changing schools the next school year, because I was just like, it was like the second day of school and they were just tearing me apart so much that I was like, maybe I could just go to a different school.
Wow.
And then I actually switched schools, and then I met my best friend Andy, who like you've never met, but I promise he exists. And anyway, so it like there are consequences for that, but just the idea like it doesn't really matter. Like, they can be over in their little world, and I have the power to not be a part of that. And just because they say somebody else isn't cool, like the kid that I was hanging out with was way cooler. Like, we were having so much fun. He's super nice. Like, why isn't that the cooler? Of course, that's the cooler person, but in the mind of a 12-year-old or 11-year-old, that was, wasn't cool. But it was a very,
it gives me so much anxiety, because obviously looking back, it's like, duh.
Yeah,
but
I know.
In the moment, I can't imagine.
Oh my, I mean, the sweat.
Yeah.
The sweat of just like instant, like sweat pouring it in. So I don't know. That was a thing. That was one of the first like concrete experiences I have of going against, because I had been part of that little group for like 3 or 4 years at that point. And, it was just terrible. Like, it was not fun. It was not good.
Tell me there's an epilogue to this story where you all, like what they're all doing now.
I know what some of them are doing. It ain't shooting for the stars. A story ends about as you'd expect, with people who behave like that early in life.
Are you still friends with that friend?
No, but not for any, like, we went to different schools, moved to high school, whatever, but it never ended like poorly or anything. Right. Like, yeah, he was just always a cool guy. I'm guessing
he didn't become like the best man at your wedding or something.
No, I think he like moved away from our small town, went to college. Yeah. He clearly wasn't at our wedding. But anyway, that was just a little like, for some reason, when you talked about bringing up stories and going against the grain popped up, that story popped into my head. And I don't think I'd ever like, I don't know if I've told you that story.
No, you haven't.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, is this like a formative story that Heather's not heard?
I can't think of a story that I haven't told you.
Well, you had, I don't know if I've heard the one, but you were telling me one you wanted to.
I have a story. Okay. So let's check in with the comments.
Let's check in with everybody first here.
I think your stories, your comments are showing faster than mine. So.
Okay. I gotta catch up. Okay, here we go. Kimberly says, thanks. I'm working all day on iMovie and I swear it changes on YouTube. Not giving up. It's just practice. Kimberly's working super hard to build up a YouTube channel. Definitely, if you see a little profile picture there in the chat, you can click on it, I think, and check it out. Rock Andrew said he got the Fuji X-T4, which is, I don't have any experience with it. I think, from what I've heard, one of the most underrated camera choices that's out there right now. So I'm excited to see what you do with it. And clearly, it's a great choice. See everyone just chatting in the chat. Tasif says, targeted by a group of friends as a joke. I've been through that. I got my humor that way, and now I make sure people laugh and not bully anyone. Exactly. And the slight epilogue, when I said I switched schools the next school year and I met my best friend, the reason that we met was because we would play like dodgeball and we would always be out early in the game because we just weren't good at sports. And so the game would start and he'd be like, boom, boom, we'd be out, and then we'd just be sitting on like the sidelines waiting for the next game. And after like a week of that, it was like, so you're always out too, huh? And then like we just talked.
That's cute.
But that's like a really fun way to meet someone. Consent is the difference between jokes. Yeah, exactly. If somebody's cool with, you can have your friend that you make fun of and goof on and whatever, and that's fine. But they have to be in on the joke with you. Like, it can't be that they're not okay with it and you're still doing it, because then it becomes bullying. Faith T says, thank you. I've been wanting to catch one of these live streams. The wisdom you two offer in these talks have been a real help in finding clarity with different aspects of my life. I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're like crushing it in terms of
what you do.
I would say post high school. Like, high school was years and years ago. So just sounds like you're doing good. Aaron says, preteen edgelords. I have no idea why some kids need to project an aura of negativity. I've been guilty of it myself. Yeah, I've been super guilty of it. So tiny side story. The school year that ended before this little story I told, we had gone on a field trip and there was an even dorkier kid than me in the class. And I was like chubby and dorky, and there was a chubbier and dorkier kid. So if I'm getting made fun of, what is my instinct then is going to be to, well, sadly, make fun of like the kid that's even lower on the food chain than me. And I remember, and he was, of course, a super nice kid. And we were on a field trip, and I remember the little group of edgelords was making fun of him and like laughing. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And I remember like, I was like, oh yeah, like kind of just joining in. And then his mom, who was like a chaperone on the field trip, saw me. She didn't see the other ones, but saw me, of course, and came over and like really tore me down to like, how could you do something like, can't you think about like how you affect another person? And I looked over and he was like crying in the background. And I remember like, I cried myself to sleep that night because I felt so bad. And then I honestly can't remember. I apologized to him the next day. I know I cried myself to sleep going like, I'm going to apologize the next day. I don't know if I did, because I don't remember having a like heartwarming moment, but I know I never made fun of him again after that. I was like, nope, not a thing. And I was just like, nice, because that
sometimes
sucked.
You don't know.
No,
like you have to do it. And,
I was just trying to survive.
Like you need to realize how it makes you feel when you do it. And I guess like, some kids are like, oh, it makes them feel good or whatever.
Poor kid. I just feel terrible.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, it gives someone an ego boost is what Tusif is saying. And it only works if the other people buy into it. Otherwise, you're just the grumpy kid. Exactly. And that's what I learned, is you have the power to take that away so easily by just ignoring it. And then it's like, it just doesn't matter, because now they're just the losers who are like not having fun with everybody. Like, you're still,
then you,
that's lame.
Jokes
like,
on you.
We're all over here playing under a giant parachute and stuff, and you're like over there being edgy. Have fun. Yeah, and so to Steve and Aaron are going back and forth, basically talking about the, it can be tough to be nicer, but it is the thing that we all kind of need to learn. And Aaron says, I feel like one of the best moments you can have as a teenager is when you realize that you can decide whose opinion you care about. Yes, I mean, some people, that can happen at any age, but that happening in your teenage years is huge. And, I definitely felt like an outcast for a while in my teenage years. And then Tusif said it's relaxing. It lifts a weight off your chest physically. In that story, the weight that lifted was crazy. And let's see here real quick here. I'm trying to just zip through a little bit because I want to make sure we get to Heather's story. So Aaron says, you're both adults now and the power imbalance isn't there anymore, but the legacy of how things used to be is still hovering in the background of the conversation. Yes, this is something that Heather and I had to learn about each other when we met, because the way we just approach things was so different, where I was approaching everything kind of coming from that type of experience, and Heather was coming from like, no, you can just be nice and like cool to people, and the people you're around should be nice and cool because you can choose them, and it doesn't have to be this way. And I was just constantly waiting for the bad things to happen.
I think because like I've met a lot of people. Like I like meeting people. So like when we met, I had a huge social circle.
Oh yeah.
And I think I've just gone through enough people where like I like hanging out with you and I don't like hanging out with you. So it's just
I was always shy. So meeting anybody was tough. And then like I lived in a very small area. So it was like, it's not like, well, I'll go hang out with all the other people. It's like you or nobody.
Yeah, no. In college, I was like, I don't want to say I was popular because it's college, it's huge, but like I was, you know, in a co-ed fraternity. I was in leadership positions. So like there's always a lot of people, and you know, in college, people are open-minded. We had very different college experiences, which actually should be an episode.
Yeah.
But okay, so here's my story. So my story is not going against the grain. I don't even know what the positive is going to be on this one. So you're going to have to help me.
Okay, I can do this.
I think the positive was just the realization.
It was important.
It was an important lesson learned. Yeah. So this was the first time that I could remember being done wrong by another person, like ever in my life, to the point where it like really hurt, and it was by a stranger. And I know that sounds scary, but it's not.
Yeah, that sounds ominous.
So like, you know, of course I have a little brother. We've had our fights, you know, obviously, you know, there's been tiffs with my friends at this point. I want to say I was maybe like a junior in college when this, or college, high school when this happened.
So like 17, 16.
Yeah, 16. And I just had not been done wrong by a stranger, because what situation would I meet strangers at that age, right? So when I tell you where this happened, I feel like you guys are going to laugh. I know you know this story.
It's not ringing any bells yet.
So there's this game called Diablo 2. It is an MMO RPG, which means it's like World of Warcraft, where you play online, right? It's an RPG that you play online. You have an avatar, and there's a world, and you level up and you can team up with people. But anyway, there's this online component where you can talk to other people, meet other people, team up together, trade items. You know, there's a whole like social aspect. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. If you don't, I'm happy to explain. Anyway, I was absolutely obsessed with Diablo 2. Like, talking about going against the grain, there were times where, you know, my friend group in high school would go out to eat lunch or whatever, like on campus, they'll go over there. And I straight up took my Diablo 2 video game guide and went to the library instead, so I could just read up on different armor that I wanted to get for my character.
My
like
future wife. I think that's cool.
Oh my God. I was obsessed. I can't tell you how obsessed I was with this game. Anyway, so in the game at the time, the form of currency to trade items was something called perfect skulls.
Okay.
And to get a perfect skull, basically you have to go through this hierarchy of like, you have to get 6 chipped skulls, and then you turn that in and get like, you know, 1 semi-chipped skull, and then you turn in 6 semi-chipped skulls to get the regular one, and then you turn that in to get the upgraded one, and you go through this, you know. So by the end of it, to get 1 perfect skull, you probably had to go through hundreds of chipped ones.
Okay.
To turn it in. So I had played weeks, maybe months at this point, to get 10 perfect skulls, and I felt like I was going to go shopping for this piece of armor that I had found in the guide. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go into the trading forum in the game. And I'm so excited because I saved up. And like, I know this sounds crazy, but literally I played fair and square. So I put in the time to kill the enemies to get 10 perfect skulls. Okay. It took that long. It took a long time.
Okay.
And I was playing by myself. So I didn't have like someone to team up and like, we could do it faster. It was just me. I have 10 perfect skulls. I go into the forums. Someone has it. I'm super excited. We go into a private, like, game room to trade, right? And the way that it works is that you guys talk to each other and a trade window opens, and then the person gets to put like the armor. I get to see it, and then there's a box where I drop in what I'm trying to exchange.
This is like Diablo Craigslist.
Okay, so he drops the armor, and I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Like, I'm so excited about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have 10 perfect skulls. And he was like, okay, cool. Hold on a second. And he closes the window, goes back to the chest where you have, like, it's your storage, right? And then he comes back to me, opens up the window, and drops the armor. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I put in my 10 perfect skulls. And to ensure that everyone's okay with it, I have to say okay, and they have to say okay. Of course, both of us said okay. I did not double check the armor.
Oh, he gave you like some Bobo crappy armor?
He literally gave me the armor that you get like at level 1.
Like the beginner's armor?
Yeah. Like the armor that the armor that like not even the level 1 people want.
How did you feel when this happened?
I can't even tell you. I'm gonna cry. I was like, so I'm literally tearing up. I'm straight up tearing up.
Oh my God.
Like, seriously. It's more out of laughter.
So I'm gonna laugh here. I'm gonna check in with some comments here real quick. So I want to jump to this one here.
I don't know like what the takeaway is.
Well, I'm going to give you a moment because I wanted to point out here, Tusif said Tom was chubby. My brain froze while processing that. I was very chubby as a kid. Oftentimes made fun of, called all the bad names, sad stories. Super sad stories about that. Don't worry. We can get to those. Okay. Now that Heather's recomposed herself.
Oh my God. I don't know why I started crying.
So there's nothing you can do, right? When this happens, you can't go to like a moderator or like
no.
You're just
there's
that's
like,
it.
Yeah. It's like YouTube. Like there's no customer service. There's no like there's no like authority who can, because here's the thing, like I said yes. I approved it.
Yeah. So the transaction you approved followed all the rules. It was just he pulled the switch where like, oh, close, reopen, and then switch the armor real quick. But that I mean, how clearly you remember this half a lifetime later.
Yeah.
So like, what is the takeaway from this story?
It's crazy. I wish this guy were watching because
maybe he is. Maybe it's Aaron.
I mean, I just like clearly I was still sad about it. So I don't know like what the takeaway was, but I had never been, it didn't even cross my mind to like check because I was like, it's not even a possibility to get screwed over.
Well, so this is one of those things where it's like it's goofy because you're like, it's this game and I got gypped in the game. But if you break it down further, like you said, the game is to get to that point. It's a lot of your time.
I put in my time, dude.
Yeah,
it's
real time. And you wanted to get something in the game that's going to let you like level up in a specific way. And it's not just that didn't happen, but for that not to happen, this person had to consciously and actively, which is a real human on the other end of the keyboard or whatever.
Yeah, because it's like we had talked and, they
did this on purpose.
And it just made me feel like, God, there's people out there like that
who
have no shame.
Yeah.
And he had done the thing where like, as soon as it was over, he logged off. So I tried to DM. I tried to be like, yo, dude, like, can I at least get 2 perfect skulls back? Like, keep the thing, like, whatever. But now I have nothing. And just the reply was just like, so-and-so is not online. So-and-so is not online. And like never came back on ever. And like, I remember I kept playing the game. And like for months, I just kept checking. By any chance, is this guy still online? And no, he never came back online again. So I think what it was just a dump character where you have just this, it's kind of like Animal Crossing. If there was another island, you just put all the stuff on that account.
Thanks for putting it to Animal Crossing, so I'll understand.
I know. But anyway, it was just like, it was so crazy because this is a world, like this world was my escape from the real world. Where it's like I felt it's a game, so you feel like you're in control.
Yeah, well, and it's an escape. So bad things happen in the real world. The game is where you go to not deal with that
exactly.
stuff.
And then
that
I feel so bad for crying.
I'm sad for you. That's hilarious. You'll have to go back and watch that part of the stream.
I can't watch it.
It's so good.
Like, so I don't know what the positive takeaway was, but it was just a hard lesson of like, wow, there's just scammers out there. Like there's just mean people out there.
Yeah, it's I mean, that is a truly important lesson to learn because especially I don't know.
I know there's nothing to say. It's like, well, it sucks, Heather, but
it's I think that's a funny, sad, but funny way to learn that. It's a unique way to learn that.
If people say that there's like nothing that can be learned from video games, let me tell you, I've learned most.
We should do a whole episode on what you've learned from video games.
I love games. I have been playing video games since like the Atari, and I can go on and on about how much I love video games. And like, I've learned so much of, crucial, like life-defining lessons from
stepping
video
on
games.
Turtles to get money, the whole thing.
Stuff it. Oh, stupid. Yeah. So anyway, that's my story.
So Faith T says, my best friends have been people who have reciprocated the same level of respect towards me, never people who ridiculed me. I was surprised how long it took me to realize that. Yeah. And I think that this is obviously related to my story, but that was one thing I told Heather when we first met. I was just like, everyone in your circle is so great. And I was like, it's so strange to keep meeting people that just like make your life better and easier. And you were like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you not?
I had like, I don't even know, 50 people invited to the party that Tom and I, it was our second hangout in person. And I was celebrating, it's the like channel trailer on my YouTube channel. And I was celebrating like my 2 years of entrepreneurship. And I put together like my favorite video ever, this montage video. And I invited all my friends, all my family, people who, colleagues, like it was just, I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate my progress because I was working at WeWork at the time, the co-working space, and people were doing launch parties. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to have a launch party because I'm not coming out with like a new software or whatever, but it would be cool to still, like, I feel like just because I'm not launching something, there's still something to celebrate. And when Tom came, it's like every person that, and I'm so proud of this, every person that he met, he was like genuinely like excited about it, and everyone was nice. And yeah, these are my friends that like, I had invited them for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that, but I remember you telling me like, wow, like everyone that you are surrounded with is like so amazing. I'm like, yo, that's cool.
Yeah, I have my, as an adult, I've learned to be more discerning with who I keep near me. So I have, through college and like early adulthood into like regular adulthood, I learned to be better with that. But it's still been a very small, selective group. And it wasn't until like college age that I really started learning about that. Whereas you just sort of naturally like were able to cultivate that. And it wasn't that I ran into like 2 or 3 people who were great. It's, a huge like room lounge area filled with people that were just all super awesome in their own way. And that was like, it was mind boggling because I'm just so used to not being in those situations. Or I had been so used to not being in those situations.
Yeah.
So this is a quick transition between our stories, but Kimberly said, I just thought this was an important comment. So I wanted to go back to it. She said, I loved Tom's story. Empathy and witnessing future karma make a perfect teacher. My best friend and I were always accused of being goody goodies. We laugh now about where they all landed or really crashed. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's okay to be a goody goody, I think. And Tasif says to Kimberly, I feel the best people are those who have the power of causing damage, yet they choose to do good with that power. That's when it's very easy for people to sit back and talk about what they would do and what their values are. But when they're in a position where they can actually,
do something.
yeah, what they actually choose to do is different. When somebody says, oh, if I had this much money, I'd give it away and do blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of get a little bit and suddenly like they don't do those things they said, or, whatever it is, you just sort of, it's easy to talk philosophically, but when you have to actually put the words into action, that's when true character comes out, I think. Jean Salvatore, I just want to say hello from Southbury, Connecticut. Hello. I'm glad we can make a connection. And Aaron says, it sounds like Heather's describing some sort of game. And Tusif says, Heather's a gamer. We should collab someday on it. But Aaron said he's almost game illiterate. I spent a lot of time watching my girlfriend playing games while not really understanding what she's doing. I've been there.
Yeah, I know.
I'm understanding the games now. Heather's been playing this one game for like a lot of hours lately.
It's my favorite game
But
ever.
here's the key. Tusif says, guys dream of a partner who likes games.
I can't tell you how many times growing up people were just like, wow, you play video games. And especially like back in the 90s, early 2000s, like girl gamers was it was like a unicorn. And for me, it was just like, I don't see myself as a unicorn. I just genuinely liked video games. So like now it's not a big deal, but I remember growing up, I was like, oh my God, my husband's gonna be a gamer like me. You do like it.
So, okay. You want to talk stories, right? Okay. My babysitter.
Yes.
Was it last week we were talking about daycare and video cameras and stuff? I don't know. There's so many podcasts. I don't remember what streamer podcast this was on.
No.
I think it was on my podcast, The Enthusiasm Project. You should listen to it. I talked about going to a daycare pre-kindergarten, and my babysitter there had the original Nintendo. And we didn't get to play it very much, but every once in a while we get to play the original Nintendo. And I was just like, it was amazing. I loved that thing. I had dreams of
like NES.
Yeah. I had dreams of getting my own, and I got one for like I think it's my 7th birthday, 1st grade. I got a Nintendo, the one that came with Duck Hunt and the gun and everything, and Mario, and it was my favorite thing ever. And I had that. That was basically my only system. I never got the SNES. But then, are you laughing because I said SNES?
No, I'm not. Go ahead.
And then in '97, I got the N64. I didn't get it right when it came out, but that thing was amazing. And that's where I had my GoldenEye guide, and I would bring it to school and read my guidebook. And then right into my teenage years when like the PS1 came out, and it was really when video games were kicking into like a totally different level, no pun intended. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I got it in my head that I was like, video games, like teenagers shouldn't play video games. This was obviously wrong and a while ago, but I was just like, no, it's like, like I need to be like, I was like this chubby kid. It was like, I need to go be like out in the world or whatever. And I remember selling my N64 at a swap meet, which I regret heavily to this day. And then I just kind of got out of games until like, I got like I think I got the PS2 in college so I could get GTA, so I could get San Andreas, and I got the Xbox 360 so I could get GTA 5 when that came out. And then like I played Just Dance a little bit, and then the Wii came back. But had I not done that, as much as I regret selling my I don't know if like Daylight would have been a thing that I saw, because I would have heavily just been like into that. And so
Well, that's how it was for me, but I have no regrets.
I mean, I did The Sims a bit in high school and got real addicted to like The Sims for a while.
Yeah.
And jumping back into our comments, Aaron said, "This pain runs deep," all caps for Heather.
That's deep, guys.
And Jean Salvador says, "Everyone dreams of a partner that shares their leisure activities. I got lucky enough to marry someone that shares my technology / geek needs." I'm sure it's geekiness. Does he have geeky needs? And she's also a motor sports lover. So that's cool, because
that's super cool.
Yeah, that's a
real
combo.
Specific, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a combo that you wouldn't necessarily think of being together. And he also says, "One of our favorite things to do is travel the country attending races. We just celebrated our 31st anniversary."
Yay, congratulations. That's awesome.
Happy anniversary. These are the nice, like,
yeah.
I love hearing this kind of stuff. Oh, jeez. Christopher Kent.
Hi, Christopher.
Heard of him? He says, "Hi, Heather. Should be doing my summer class homework, but this is a nice break. Hope the fires out there aren't affecting y'all."
It's just really smoky.
Yeah, it's not as bad now, but yeah, it's been real smoky and gross. Let's see. We got a lot of comments, so I'm trying to like be as attentive as I can, but also just
I can't like see the comments are like not loading for me.
So there's an interesting thing where there's like conversations happening here where Faith T said, "Have you ever been so bad at a game online that you've been asked to like uninstall the game and like quit?" And Tusif said, "No, but I've been called TERR." I don't know. He blocked it out because of like YouTube censorship because I was playing good once. That sucks.
I can't. I mean, so that I feel like that sucks. I've been called all kinds of things because especially female gamers, it's not a thing. And like, I could compete with the guys, you know, like in grade school, Halo 2. In grade school, I played GoldenEye and I would like destroy the guys, and it was just amazing. And then I played Halo 2 in college, and I was so good. Like I was so good at it. And my favorite thing to do, I was probably asking for it, was I had a headset and I was just like, "Oh, good game, guys. Like, this is so much fun." And everyone did not take well that I
beat them and then said that
they had been, you know, destroyed by a girl. And it was just like, "You're probably some fat B, you know, B word because you're playing games. Like, you're a burrito lover." I remember that one. I don't know.
What does that mean?
Because you're probably like fat and obese because like you play video games. And yeah, it's just, I mean, it's and it's funny because now if I had just kept going and started a Twitch stream,
oh yeah, now that would be you'd be paying the bills. So to Steve said, you know, he'll be in the comments like, "That is terrible to hear things like that." And he said, "Too much competition in any aspect of life makes people do bad things to rise above. If all good people sleep at the same time for 10 hours, this world would not survive." Yeah, it's, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's true. Like different colors of different characters come out under different circumstances. And
it's unfortunate. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, it's a game, whatever. And if I ever met that person, I'm sure, you know, we would get along fine and we would laugh about it. But that's my hope. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, might not be the case.
Yeah, it might not be the case.
Gene says, "My first video game was literally Pong."
Yes.
It's still addicting. And then Faith T said, I wanted to point this out specifically. "I've been playing games since I was 5, and I think the greatest thing that I learned is how much I love storytelling."
Yes.
So that's where
those are the kinds of games I like playing. Yeah, because it's not like Super Smash Brothers I can't play because it's just button mashing. But like, and I'm sure Super Smash, you know, fans would disagree with me, but I'm such a fan of like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, like games that are
Persona 5.
Of games that like just it's all about the story and the experience of the story. I really can go on and on, so we'll cut it off. But yeah.
Well, it is crazy because, you know, a movie script, an average movie script is something like 100 pages, 110 pages. I think I could be wrong, but typically like video games of the style that have kind of some kind of story tend to be like 600-700 pages. So it's insane how much has to be packed into game. I think games are getting the credit they deserve now, but I remember just not that long ago, you know, everyone just thought games are, they really trivialized it as an art form, as a way to spend your time, as whatever, a medium. And when you look into all the programming that goes into it, when you look at the writing that goes into it, the acting that goes into it, and then the skill it takes to get good at it, and the community you can build around it, I'm really happy that like esports leagues are becoming a thing in schools. I think that's awesome. Rock Entry said, "Heather, I almost cried just now. Imagine how painful it was when it actually happened. Thank God it was just a game and not a real life scam experience."
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the good part.
The other thing that I promise I'll stop talking about this, but the one thing that I remember feeling more than anything was helpless, because I didn't have any friends that could like help me. I didn't have anyone that I could go to report anything. And so it was just like, you just had to take it, you know, like that's it.
Yeah.
You just had gotten screwed over and that was it. And
It's-
it's like, what do you do after that? You know, like, I don't know what I did. Just walk away from my computer and just, hey mom, what's up? What's for dinner? Like, I don't remember what I had done.
it hurts. I feel the pain. And Faith T said, I dated a hardcore gamer before. It was more of a headache than a paradise trying to get them to listen to me.
Oh, that's funny.
And let's see here. Oh, Gene is commenting my pun, so I guess I'll just give the what is it called? Rim shot. Yeah.
Oh.
Aaron says, I literally just sat and watched Susie, for that is her name, play through The Last of Us Part 2. It was as much fun to watch as many movies.
Last of Us is good. I haven't played part 2, but
coming from the world of YouTube for both of us, that's one of the things. There is a criticism. I feel like it's dying down more recently, but just in a couple years ago, people would say like people just want to sit and watch someone play a video game. Like, where's the fun? And like, they're not even playing the video game. They're just watching someone play the video game. And it's like, I understand the absurdity of that on the surface, but when you dive a little deeper,
there's so much going on.
Yeah. And there's just layers there.
There's so many layers going on.
And let's see. Okay, so we can catch up real quick. Faith says, is her current boyfriend and I play Halo and Destiny when we can, and they're both games I genuinely love. Yay for balance and equality. And Steve says, I'm playing that these games are uploaded. I'm playing that these days, and I upload in HDR, even though no one watches that channel. You know what? That's not what it's about. It's about your HDR uploads. XNA Stories. Hello.
Hi.
It's great that you're here. Thank you guys. Speaking of connections, you guys have a great one. You guys should play Tekken and Mortal Kombat, Steve says. Probably to Faith T. And he also says games connected strangers with each other before social media was a thing.
Oh man, I mean, I wish I still kept in touch with my friends that I made online.
Oh, it's
that was so cool.
It is. Yeah, I mean, there's a magical thing of just being able to be connected through somebody. And games are such a specific experience because there's even I know it now. You can post screenshots from a certain game or just a phrase from a certain thing, and it will just hit people who connected with it in a certain way.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's such an experience. I don't know. It's such an experience. I'm so glad that video games are a thing that exists.
Oh, I'm so
even though we
glad
play
that
them
you
differently.
appreciate-
It's not like I never play games just because I'm an Animal Crossing guy.
No, but the way that you said it,
I cart my Marios.
I'm trying to think of what the other story I was going to tell was going to be. Oh, I remember.
Why don't you dive into yours? Because my first one was really long, I feel like.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, I feel bad because I don't have stories that have good endings.
This
You are
was
my
an
good
amazing
ending.
conversation.
So
I have like...
I don't know why these are the ones I thought about. Okay, so here's a story from college. I was living in an apartment that was student housing. So it was on campus.
Okay.
I was in a 2-bedroom apartment. And it was there was like two entrances to get into this apartment complex. And I was on the corner of one of them. So I saw all the traffic coming in and out. I had a roommate, but she was never there. So it was pretty much like I had the whole thing to myself. I was always alone for some reason. I don't even know where she was. But anyway, so most of the time I was there by myself. And I remember it had been a particularly long day and I was hungry. So I was like super excited to just cook dinner,
Yep.
sit in front of the couch or sit on the couch, sit in front of the TV and just
Vibe.
yeah. Just eat my dinner and chill. Like I was so looking forward to this. And I had busted out the rice cooker to make my rice. I cut my Spam. I made my eggs.
The girl's serious over here.
Oh yeah. Okay. And it was gonna be one of these nights. So I had my Spam in the frying pan. No, actually I think it was Vienna sausages, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, it was some kind of meat in a can in the pan. Yeah. And then I got a knock on the door and I looked at the people and I didn't know who it was, but I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason I opened the door. Okay. And the guy who was standing there was someone I didn't know and was like carrying stuff like in a bag. And was just like, I can't even remember what he did, but basically he launched into this whole like, hey, like I sell magazines. Like, do you like this? Like, what's your hobby? Blah, blah, blah. And like, I really want to tell you about this special discount thing package that I've got going on. And like, you know, I think you're really going to enjoy it and blah, blah, blah. And let me tell you, one thing that I struggled with, I probably didn't really learn this until, swear to God, 2 years ago. I have such a hard time saying no. Like, it's just so hard for me. Like, even though I'm not interested, I feel bad saying no. Like, it's just something I really, really struggled with. So I had no interest in getting this guy's magazines. Like, I didn't, but he had launched into this spiel and I didn't want to cut him off. I just felt rude. So I let him go. He found his way onto my couch and was just sitting there busting out his like magazines and like showing
I hate
me,
everything
like,
about this situation.
I know, and I feel stupid. Like, how did I let this happen? Luckily, it doesn't get any worse than this, because I know this is like sounding like a really bad premise. But what ends up happening is I was like, okay, look, I'm not interested in getting a whole year subscription, but can I try it out and then cancel if I'm not interested? Mind you, the pan is still going. And I'm like, sausages. Oh my God, it's burning, you know, like, I'm like, you know, I'm just hurry up. But he's not like reading the signs that I'm not interested or whatever. And then I was like, you know, I said, can I cancel? And he was like, oh, you're not trying to help me out. You're trying to like, you know, mess with me. Like, you're trying to hurt me. You're trying to destroy me. Like, you want to screw me over because you want to cancel. And like, if you cancel, there's a punishment. Like, you're not trying to help. You're just like he like basically insulted me
while sitting on your couch.
Yes. And then he grabbed his bag, he grabbed all his stuff and stormed out of my apartment, just stormed out. And I had no idea what had happened. Like, I was standing there just like, okay, my dinner's burned. I was like so happy before he came. And now I feel like I did something wrong.
That sucks.
But it's not my fault.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't, I wish I could go back and tell myself, like, he made you feel like you did something wrong. Number one, you shouldn't have let the guy inside.
Yeah.
Straight.
Well, yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have opened the door, but I'm an idiot, so I did. But it was such a weird feeling of like, why do I feel like I did something wrong when now my dinner's burned?
Yeah.
My night is ruined. And I'm confused.
And I'm confused. What a sad situation.
I don't feel bad. I don't have any good stories.
That's a pretty good story. Did you learn something from this?
I definitely learned, like, I'm not opening the door anymore because I can't, like, if I can't say no, then don't even open the situation.
Well, so here's where I think the problem is, because you said even till recently you had trouble saying no to people.
Yeah, like, okay, very quick. This is not even a story, but clients, you know, would approach me and like, it's a crappy project for a crappy price, but I just couldn't say no. So I would take it and regret the whole, like, I've had clients tell me, I know I'm a bad client, and I continued to work with them because I couldn't say no. Like, it's just something I've really struggled with. And Tom has, you know, it's been cool because Tom's been witnessing the evolution of my empowerment of, like, I said no and it was awesome. And
well, you pushed me to do the same thing too, because there's a thing that happens where I think, if this isn't to like praise ourselves, but you and I are good at, like, I think we're good at being self-reflective, trying to be self-aware, operating in good faith and like, within reason and to a fault. Because honestly, when you interact with somebody else, you just sort of slip into the assumption that they are also operating under those same conditions. And they're not. No, they're not at all. And the crazy thing is, I have spent most of my life as a huge doormat, people pleaser. And as soon as you start saying no, it's wild to see how people do react like that guy reacted. And like, yeah, like there's something wrong with you. Yeah, he's so difficult to work with. He's tough to be around. I'm like, I don't think that's what it is. It's like, literally, this was a 90-10 situation where it was not an even thing. I said no to it because it was unfair, and I needed to draw the line. Put the boundaries. Yeah. And now I'm being looked at as a tough person, as like a bad person to work with. And that is, that kind of goes back to the original thing of being a kid and just being like, it does suck that some people are going to say those things. And I've heard stories from coworkers and other words like, did you hear what, like, yeah, that group over there doesn't want to have anything to do with you because they say you're terrible to work with. And I'm like,
well,
that's interesting.
the opposite of that is at my last job. I was so like, basically it was like walking into my dream job. So I was so eager to please, like my eager to please meter just shot through the roof. And I literally didn't say no to any project. So, if you set that precedent, then everything's fair game. Every person from every department on campus would just come up to me and just be like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Like, even if it wasn't my job, I said, yes, 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 yes. I would be the last one there. I'd work on the weekends and I was still excited about it. But it was just like, obviously that gets to the point where it's not sustainable. And then when it had been too late, you can't really like put the genie back in the bottle. Yep. And when I tried to like reel it in, it was like, oh, but you did this for me last week. And
yeah,
it sucks.
That's a tricky, I've been in those same situations and it just sucks because it is. And I know, like, I've talked to you about this, but there have been times where I look and I go like, God, look at all like the things that I'm being asked to do. And it's not equal. It's not like, like when you and I work on this show, it's kind of an equal situation. When there are certain things you can do where someone says, hey, do you want to do this? Okay, yes, I'll do this. Okay. And then you kind of work together collaboratively, or it's a paid situation where I'm hiring you to do this. I'm paying you. Now you're doing all the work, but you're getting paid for it. But there's so many situations where I was like, I constantly keep like, the number of times I am asked to help or do something extra,
and then you end up doing everything.
Well, versus the number of times that I'll just never ask for help, like, which is a fault.
See, that's the thing.
Which is a fault of myself because I should ask for help more. But the number of times that somebody shows up to like lessen the load on your plate is almost non-existent. And when you start realizing, like, wait a minute, and then you start saying no to those things, and then people make you feel bad, it's like, well,
and it sucks because it's like I knew by saying yes, I was lessening their load, and I wanted to do that.
Yes, because it feels great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love helping. That's my problem. That's why I don't say no. And then, but the thing is, like, anyway, this is off topic, but no one has a scope of everything that's on your plate, and so they're only conscious. Yeah, they're only conscious of what they're asking you, and it's one thing that's only supposed to take 30 minutes. But anyway,
I have a story. I want to go. This story doesn't have anything. I don't know if there's a lesson here, but it's just it's a college apartment story that I love. And I know I've told you this, but my first apartment in college was in like a low income development, like basically like, I guess like the projects, which I didn't realize until I lived in. I was like, oh, I live in the projects. Okay. Because that was what I could afford. And it was fine. I had my little apartment and I kept it very nice. My first apartment in that complex, super infested with roaches, like to the point where
God, I would have lost my mind.
And I kept my apartment spotless, but if you like literally just stood in one spot, like especially the kitchen where I had a shared wall with the neighbor, and you just like stood still, suddenly it would look like the kitchen was moving because there were just bugs everywhere.
No.
And what it was the neighbors with those connected walls and these old like crummy apartments were super hoarders, also drug dealers, and like. Eventually, I convinced the management to let me move apartments. So I moved to a second apartment, which didn't have any hoarder neighbors. I think the maintenance guy said someone died. But whatever, it was fine when I went there. And it was nice, super great like apartment for college. It's like upstairs above a downstairs neighbor. My downstairs neighbor was a very interesting lady because so I had like one or two friends who would come over pretty regularly, but for the most part, I was the only person ever in my apartment, and I worked I worked multiple jobs. So even though neither job was full-time, the full-time work hours, but I went to school full-time. So I just wasn't home. I was eating meals. It was the same thing as you, where like my favorite thing was like, I can't wait to get a meal and sit in front of the sandwich or sit in front of the sandwich. I would eat a lot of sandwiches. The people at Porta Subs just knew me and would be like, how'd your like final go this semester? And I'm like, God, they should know this about me. But anyway, I would do that. And my thing was watching commentaries. I watched like Arrested Development frontwards and backwards 10,000 times. And I watched Simpsons DVD commentaries. That was like, I didn't even think I had cable. Those were the only things I watched. And
I know where this is going.
Yes. And I had a neighbor downstairs who was I only had like met her once before, like when I was moving in, and I remember, she was like, "Oh, hi, like come here to say hi or whatever." And she was like a slightly older lady, and her apartment, which was very tiny, had huge furniture in it. Like I was like, clearly used to live in a big house. You have big house furniture, and now you're in like like something happened here. And I know she had like some disability things, so she was in a tough spot, and she was just kind of a kooky lady. We basically never really talked. And like a year into me living there, I got home from work one day, and there was a note on my door that said, "Tom, please come see me when you get home, like your downstairs neighbor." And I was like, oh, which is my nightmare.
I know.
My absolute nightmare to get something like that. And I was like, okay, maybe she needs help with something. Maybe she needs help moving something or whatever. So I went down, knocked on the door, and she's like, "Tom, I just want to tell you I know about the people." And I was like, okay, what people? Good for what people? And she was like, "I know you've got people staying with you." And I was like, I truly don't. She was like, "Don't lie to me. Like, I know you have people staying with you," because
don't lie to me.
These were low income apartments. So it's the rent is based on your income. So if you have somebody else in your apartment for more than like 24 hours, they have to be on your lease because the rent is adjusted based on the total income of the apartment. So you couldn't really have people like stay over. And I never did. And she was like, "I know about the people are staying over, and don't lie to me." And I was like, there are no people, I have friends over a couple times, but I haven't had anyone over in like months, honestly. And she's like, "I know about people." She's like, I'm not even going to report you to the office. Just please be quiet. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm loud. And I watched my TV so quiet, like I couldn't even hear it. The last thing I want to do is be disruptive. And I was like, I forget what she said next, but I was like, "I wouldn't have thought you heard like," she's like, "I hear the voices. And I was like, "There's no voices. If anything, I would have thought you hear like the shower and stuff, because I take a shower really early in the morning, like at 4:30 before work." And she was like, "Oh, I know you do." And I was like, oh. So then I realized for the past year, she'd been listening to every toilet flush, every shower. And I was just like, what a complete nightmare. But then she kept saying, "I'm hearing the voices. I hear the voices." And I was like, this is a crazy person, because there's nobody even in there most of the time, much less anyone else besides me. And I'm certainly not just talking to myself the whole time. And then I was like, the voice is like, oh, she hears the DVD commentaries. And I was like, I have no idea how to explain to you that what you're hearing
is the TV.
Is not just the TV, because DVD commentaries were like, it was like pre-podcast time, where
so it's like talking.
It's literally, especially the Simpsons ones, it's like 7 writers just having a conversation
like
while the
you don't
episode
hear
plays.
the sitcom.
You don't hear that. It really does sound like a conversation of, I mean, I guess she just thought I only had a bunch of like 50-year-old dudes in my apartment all the time. But I just remember having that realization of like, I don't know how to explain to you what a DVD commentary is, because I don't think we're going to be on the same page with this. And then just feeling uncomfortable for the next year that I lived there. That there's no good news to that story, but the face she made when I was like, oh, if anything, I would have thought like you'd heard me like get ready in the morning for work because I take a shower. And she just said, "Oh, I know you do." Oh my gosh, just how awful. And that was where I was like, I need to live in a house. This sucks. So
I hear
live
you
in a
flush the
single
toilet,
story
babe.
house. Yeah, well, yeah, but you know what? Not sorry. Anyway, that was my last story. Let's check in with comments.
Let's check in with the comments.
Wrap it up. I saw one here where
what a bizarre episode.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta have some fun here.
Oh man.
Okay. Aaron says, "Dude, burned your pan spam. I have lost my damn mind." I have lost my damn mind. The thing is, if that's a very inexpensive meal, but the time it takes to prepare it, and if you didn't have any extras, like I think a universal thing people can relate to is looking forward to like getting home and relaxing with a meal or a snack. That's like, it's just such a thing.
Like here is okay. Here's the lesson that I can draw from those two experiences. I learned that the emotion that I absolutely hate the most, more than sadness, more than anger, like I remember realizing this, is disappointment. It's the worst thing ever. It's like when you have expectation and you think you're going to do something, and for whatever reason it doesn't end up happening, it's heartbreaking. It just sucks. And I know it's simple. It's like, okay, you wanted to get that armor in the stupid video game, whatever, but the excitement I had for like, this is going to change everything. Like everything's going to be so much fun. Oh yeah, it changed everything. And then like, I was hungry. I was tired. I was excited to watch a show, and now dinner was burned and I felt like crap. Like it just sucks.
And you can't just bounce back and be like, well, okay, it's over. I'll just get back into my mood.
Exactly.
Like, emotionally, it just takes time to snap back into that. Aaron says it's important to learn to value your own time and realize that your time is much less valuable than everyone else knows. Yes. Nobody is going to value your time the same way you do. Like,
Yes.
Like Heather said, they don't know what else is on your plate either.
Tweet that. Aaron.
Jean Salvatore says it's difficult to say no to projects. You want to upkeep your reputation and you understand how you can help customers, but it's okay to say no. And believe it or not, it's actually okay to fire a customer.
Yeah. Oh, I straight up fired that customer. I felt so good about it.
Yeah. She was so
happy. I recorded the phone call of me.
It was a pretty crazy call too. Like,
oh yeah.
It was like you tried to fire my old downstairs neighbor.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Steve says, I see what you're saying to Jean. I would rather earn less and worry less, but of course it depends on the situation. Right.
Yeah, that can be a podcast episode, just like talking about business clients.
Right. Because Jean said taking on a project that you will dislike because of all the time you're putting in without proper direction from your client or payment is not worth it in the long run.
I have learned that many times.
Yeah, it can actually be damaging to your reputation because neither you or the client end up happy. Neither of you will be a good reference for each other. It's just right.
And what I've learned is that the clients who like pay the least are the ones who are so super bossy, and it's just really annoying because they expect a lot for what they're paying. And the best clients, and I've been lucky to have these clients that are just, they pay the money and they're like, I don't even care. Don't tell me what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. This is the result that I want, and you figure it out. That's what I'm paying you for.
You're the pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the best.
Exactly.
So because when I experienced that, I never took on a client that I didn't want to work with ever again.
You really got to learn to trust your gut
Or
instinct.
I charged hella. I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that.
But that changes the scale. Like, if I hate this job, but you're paying me insane amounts of money for it, well, and I don't hate the job. Like, sure. Gene, I just wanted to point out, he said, sorry if you had to pause to start the grill for dinner. I just wanted to bring up that comment because we don't want to ruin your meal and your expectations. And Tusif is having breakfast. See, everybody's just enjoying.
Yeah,
this
we're
is
all
a universal
vibing right
human
now.
thing. We're in California. Gene's in Connecticut. Tusif is in
Pakistan.
Yeah, is in a different side of the planet, and we're all sitting here going like.
So I guess 4 p.m. our time works for everybody.
It's a dinner/breakfast time. Aaron says, "I love that this woman thought you were hiding Brad Bird in your apartment." I know it's funny because there were no pets allowed in that apartment. That was like the air got sucked out of this room. She said it went straight from warm stories to flushing. Yeah. We flushed down the warm thing, but it's just, I don't know. It's fun to just share these little like things that happen. And she says, Heather, it's because when you're excited, you're actually enjoying it. Like you already have that thing as part of the experience. Exactly. And you're going to do better work because you're excited about the thing. I also have learned in the past, saying no does make you more valuable.
Oh, yeah.
I hate this metaphor because I'm not crazy about where it came from and the person who told me, but years ago I was working with someone through my work, and I was just saying yes to like every project, and my program was saying yes to every project. And he said, no one wants to date the girl that will go with everyone to the dance. And I was like, I hate this. Like, this is gross to hear like this analogy. But he was like, saying no can make you like more desirable,
exclusive.
And I just hated the phrasing of it, but the idea of, if I say no, that means like not only am I protecting my time, but it is also showing people that my time does have value because there are things I just I can't fit in. The hardest thing, which actually, for those of you watching the live stream, since we're working from home, I use just a paper calendar. So if you're listening to this, I'm holding up my big desk paper calendar,
which is so funny to me, guys, because we're so digitally like everything.
Gotta
like
love
look
it.
at all this tech.
No,
and he straight up uses an old school paper calendar.
Yeah,
it's like
it's the best because you can just scratch things out and draw on it. But the thing is I can look at my calendar or my phone's calendar because sometimes I use the digital version, and you can see like there's nothing specific on the date, nothing other than like work or whatever. And then somebody asks like, hey, are you available next Thursday for this thing? And you look and there's nothing there. You feel obligated to say yes because there's nothing there, even though the nothing might still include like work, or it might still include taking care of yourself, being present for the people in your life. There's still taking care of yourself, doing nothing, which is totally okay to have on your calendar. But I mean, it's literally within the last year that I've learned like a blank calendar square doesn't mean that it's up for grabs.
Yeah.
If anything, I need to work hard to keep it blank to protect my own time. So I think those are important things.
What an episode.
What an episode. Aaron says I'm done. I'm guessing that's because of my bird pun or else just with the episode in general. So this was a journey.
This is a journey.
But you know what? I had fun telling stories. And the best part of this episode is watching Heather cry as she told her Diablo 2 story.
It came out of nowhere. I was not expecting.
So worth
15
it.
years later.
100%.
No, actually, it's like
book.
20 years. God, I'm old.
Well, what a depressing note to end on. Anyway,
okay, let's talk about next episode.
Let's talk about what's not depressing, which is the next episode, our call-in show.
Yep.
So in the description,
how should we do it? Like, what should we do?
I'm just finishing my sentence.
Huh?
Sorry.
Should we ask people like a question?
Well, see, this is why I we should have planned ahead, but it's been a busy few days. This is why I really recommend people just follow us on social media. This is not a cheap plug to get you to follow on social media. She's at Heather Just Create. I'm at So Darn Tom. All the links are in the description here because we'll post more specific things. I think that it does work better if we give like some kind of prompt or something. We're happy to just have people, but we want to have a theme for the show. We want to hear some of these voices that we hear through the chat every week. It'd be great to like see you and hear your voice.
Yeah, face of the name
on chat for sure. Then if you follow us, we'll kind of give you more guidelines for that. And then, like I mentioned before, if for some reason you can't be here or the time zone doesn't work out, I think
we'll
just
figure out a way
through using like my Anchor podcast thing, you can leave a voice message and we can at least play your voice message during the show. So follow us on social media to get more updated things for next Thursday. We're planning to do it again at 4 because it seems to work well for everybody for our time, Pacific time.
Yeah.
And there we go. I just want to close out because Mike Mina says that late rim shot, the badly timed rim shot was the funny part. Yes, when jokes fall apart, that's the funniest jokes. And Tasif said, Tom, somebody told me that strategy of saying no to my crush. Yeah, and then Faith agrees that sometimes you just gotta do things.
Write it down.
Just be old school. So thank you guys. Thank you. Oh my God, for going on this journey with us. I had a lot of fun though, so I hope you guys had fun too and everything. And we will see you next week where we're gonna hopefully hear some new voices, not just us. Let me fade. Oh, that's not the intro song.
Do you have a subject for the call-in show?
Off the top of my head, I do not. But
yeah, we'll tweet about it, or
people will get it on the socials. So thanks so much. We appreciate it's time to clear the table.
It's time to clear the table. Bye.
Take care. Have a safe week. Bye.